My name is Daniel. I'm 31 years old. Single, no kids. I work remotely as a UX designer for a mid-sized tech company. It's the kind of job that pays decently but drains you in all the subtle, creeping ways, like mold on the walls you don't see until it's in your lungs. About 3 weeks ago, something happened. And I haven't been the same since. It started with a road trip. I wasn't planning on going anywhere. Actually, I had declined an invitation to visit my cousin in Colorado. Too much work, I said. Which wasn't exactly true. The truth was, I hadn't been feeling like myself lately. Brain fog, insomnia, strange dreams that clung to my skin like humidity. I thought I needed solitude. But solitude was all I had. And then, one night, I just snapped. Closed my laptop mid-call, tossed some clothes into a bag, and started driving west. No GPS. No destination. I wanted the kind of escape that doesn't have a return address. For the first 8 or 9 hours, it was mostly empty highways and truck stops. I slept a little in the back seat of my car. I think I was in Kansas or maybe Nebraska when I finally saw the first sign that made me take a turn. It was a weathered green road sign, almost completely swallowed by overgrown weeds. It said, Dry Creek, 21 miles. I couldn't explain it, but the name felt familiar. Like a whisper I'd heard in a dream. I turned off the main road without even thinking about it. The sky had that dull gray look, like it was stuck between seasons. Everything looked desaturated, trees like paper silhouettes, fields like ash. The road was narrow and cracked, with weeds clawing through the asphalt. I passed a few barns, a rusted tractor, a billboard so faded I couldn't read the text. But I kept going. And then the fog rolled in. Thick, white, swallowing everything. My high beams only made it worse. I slowed down to a crawl, gripping the wheel tighter. At some point, I realized I hadn't seen another car in over an hour. But then, I saw the lights. Dim, yellow, flickering like lanterns behind the fog. I slowed to a stop and stared. It looked like a town. Just barely. Dry Creek. Or what was left of it. I parked near what looked like a general store. The windows were dusted over from the inside, like they hadn't been cleaned in decades. The sign above the door was missing letters. It just said, _REC_E_KM_KET. I got out of the car. The silence hit me first. No birds. No wind. Just absence. Like the world had paused. I told myself I'd stretch my legs. Maybe grab some water if anything was open. But as soon as I stepped into the street, I felt it. That wrongness. It wasn't just the quiet or the fog. It was like the town was watching me. I turned around to get back in the car and saw something that made my breath freeze. There was a man standing at the corner of the street. Tall. Still. Dressed in an old black coat. His face wasn't visible, only the glint of his glasses catching the dim light. I blinked. He was gone. I told myself I imagined it. Too little sleep. Too much caffeine. I climbed back into the car. Tried to turn it on. Nothing. Not even a click. The dashboard was dead. Okay, I whispered. Okay. That's fine. I popped the hood and got out. Tried to look like I knew what I was doing. Wiggled some wires. Checked the battery. That's when I heard the footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. On the gravel behind me. I turned so fast I nearly lost my balance. No one. Only the fog, swallowing everything beyond a few feet. I slammed the hood shut and backed up toward the car, heart racing. And then, a voice behind me whispered, "Horse, you shouldn't be here." I spun around. Empty. Nothing but that dust-choked store window, staring back at me like a blind eye. I didn't sleep that night. I locked the car doors, closed my eyes. But every time I drifted off, I woke to noises, tapping on the glass, distant breathing, the faint smell of sulfur. When the fog finally lifted sometime the next morning, the town looked different. A little less like a ghost town. The buildings were still weathered, but there were signs of life. A curtain moving in a second-story window. A newspaper fluttering on a porch. I saw a diner down the street. Helen's Place. I walked in, unsure what I expected. There were people. 5 or 6 of them. All sitting quietly. Eating slowly. Nobody looked up when I entered. The waitress behind the counter smiled at me, but it wasn't real. Her eyes didn't match her mouth. "Coffee?" she asked. I nodded. She poured it, slid the mug to me. "What brings you to Dry Creek?" "Car trouble," I said. "Just passing through." "Of course," she said. "Everyone is." "At first." I paused. "At first?" She didn't answer. Just smiled that same crooked smile and turned away. I sat down at the counter. The coffee tasted like dirt and cinnamon. I tried talking to the others, but none of them answered. They looked past me. Through me. That's when I noticed something else. Every clock in the diner said 4:44. Identical. Frozen. Even my watch. Even my phone. All frozen at 4:44 a.m. I stood up. The moment I stepped outside, everything shifted. The town was empty again. Silent. The fog had returned, thicker than before. I turned to look back at the diner, only to find a boarded-up building, crumbling and covered in vines. No windows. No door. No sign of life. That's when I realized I was stuck. I got in my car again, if only to feel something normal under me. It was still dead. No lights. No dashboard. Just silence. I started walking. Out of town. Down that cracked road. The fog followed me like a shadow. Never lifting, never thinning. And the further I walked, the more I noticed something wrong about the landscape. The trees were warped. Branches twisted like limbs in agony. Birds perched high above, still as statues, eyes gleaming red in the fog. I passed a house, 2 stories, rotted shutters, swing set in the backyard. Through the broken glass, I saw a little girl staring back at me. Pale. Hair matted. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I moved faster. Eventually, the road split. No signs. No markings. Just 2 equally ruined paths. I chose the left. Within a few minutes, the fog thinned, and I found myself somewhere else entirely. No ruins. No dead trees. I was standing in a field. Green, peaceful, glowing in the afternoon sun. The sound of birds and insects returned. And standing in the center was my mother. She'd been dead for 5 years. She looked exactly as she had before the chemo, healthy, warm, smiling. "Daniel," she said. Her voice was exactly as I remembered it. "Come here, honey." I couldn't move. Every nerve in my body screamed don't, but I stepped forward anyway. She opened her arms. I took another step. Come closer. And then I noticed her eyes. Black. Hollow. Bleeding from the corners. When she smiled again, her teeth were sharp. Jagged. A different mouth behind her mouth. I stumbled backward. The illusion shattered. The field dissolved into dust. The birds became screams. My mother faded like a smudge on glass. And in her place stood him. The man from the street. Black coat. Glasses that reflected too much light. He didn't move. He didn't speak. But I heard him. Not in my ears, in my head. You're not going anywhere. Then I woke up. I was in my car again. Seatbelt on. Keys in the ignition. It was dark. 4:44. Still. Was it a dream? Hallucination? The diner was back. The town was back. But something had changed. I stepped out of the car. Now, people were outside. Walking slowly. Too slowly. Like their limbs didn't belong to them. Every face looked pale, sunken, hollow. And they all turned to look at me. One by one. Without blinking. Then they smiled. Teeth too sharp. Eyes too wide. I ran. No plan. Just instinct. I tore down the street, past the buildings that flickered between ruin and normalcy like a failing signal. Past the alley where I swear something with too many legs was crawling up the wall. Eventually, I found a building that wasn't locked. A church. I slammed the doors behind me, panting. Inside, dark wood, stained glass, rotting pews. Candles burned in impossible patterns. And at the altar, a mirror. Massive. Cracked. I approached it. Something pulled me toward it. Not physically, mentally. And when I looked into it, I didn't see myself. I saw the town. But not just this version. Dozens. Hundreds. Layered like paper. Different towns, different people. All called Dry Creek. And in each one, someone was trapped. The same man in the coat stood at the center of every version. Watching. I reached out to touch the glass. And a hand shot out from the reflection, my hand, but different. Bloated. Burned. Twisted. It grabbed my wrist. I screamed. Pulled back. It let go. And suddenly, I was outside again. On the street. But not the same street. Now it was daylight. The fog was gone. Birds were singing. A woman in a blue sundress walked past, smiling politely. A man washed his car at the curb. Kids played hopscotch near the sidewalk. Everything looked normal. I blinked at the sunlight. Had I gone insane? Then I saw it. In the window of the general store. A newspaper. I moved closer. The date was August 12, 1983. 42 years ago. I looked around. No cars from the 2000s. No phones. No tech. It wasn't a hallucination. I was in the past. I stumbled back from the window. A man walking his dog gave me a curious look. "You okay, son?" I nodded, unable to speak. I needed answers. I needed to know if this was real or just another layer of the nightmare. I walked. The town was vibrant now. Clean sidewalks. Fresh paint. Laughter and chatter everywhere. I passed a movie theater showing Return of the Jedi. A teenager rolled by on a skateboard, Walkman clipped to his jeans. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. I approached a diner, this one newer, full of chrome and checkered floors. Waitresses in uniform, music on the jukebox. I slid into a booth. The waitress came over, smiling. "Coffee?" "Sure," I said, almost automatically. As she poured, I noticed the name tag, Marla. My heart skipped. My mother's name. I stared at her face. She was younger. 20, maybe. Hair pinned back in curls. The same eyes. She noticed. "You okay? Do you have family here?" She tilted her head. "Sure. Born and raised." "Why? Do you have a son?" She laughed. "God, no. I'm only 22. I felt dizzy. This was real. Somehow, impossibly. I'd gone back in time. To the year my mother had been 22. To the year before she got pregnant with me. I left the diner in a daze. If this was a trap, it was a convincing one. I wandered to the edge of town and sat on a bench. How had I gotten here? What was the point of all this? That's when the man in the coat sat beside me. No sound. No warning. One blink, and he was there. I didn't move. "You've almost made it," he said. His voice was calm. Not cruel. Not mocking. "Made it where?" He looked at me, glasses reflecting the sunlight. "To the truth." I stood up. "I don't want this. I didn't ask for this. You chose to leave the road," he said. "Everyone else stays on it. But you got out of your car. You walked. You opened doors that should have stayed closed." He reached into his coat and pulled out a key. Gold. Old. Ornate. He held it out to me. "This unlocks the last door." I didn't take it. "What happens if I do?" "You find out who you really are." I shook my head. "You're not real." He smiled. "None of this is." Then he vanished. Just like that. The key remained, hovering in the air for a second before falling into my palm. I stared at it. Then turned, and there it was. A door. Freestanding. In the middle of a field just outside town. Painted red. No frame. No hinges. Just there. I approached. The key fit. It turned with a click. I opened it and stepped inside. Blackness. For a long moment, I saw nothing. Heard nothing. Then, a room. White walls. Sterile. Blindingly clean. Machines beeped. Monitors hummed. And in the middle of the room, a hospital bed. Someone lay in it. I approached slowly. It was me. Older. Gray hair. Tubes in my arms. Eyes closed. Comatose. I staggered back. What is this? Then I saw them. Doctors. Nurses. Family. Talking in hushed tones. She's been unresponsive for weeks. Doesn't even know we're here. My sister. Crying. My daughter. Holding my hand. You have to wake up, Dad, she whispered. I remembered her. Emily. 10 years old. Bright and curious. Suddenly, I remembered everything. The accident. The storm. The black ice. My car spinning out on the highway. Then darkness. This town. This nightmare. It was all me. My mind. Trapped in a coma. Caught in limbo between life and death. That's why the town was shifting. Why time was bleeding. Why nothing made sense. It wasn't supposed to. It was a dying brain, grasping for meaning. The man in the coat appeared again, standing at the foot of the bed. "So," he said, "now you understand. Am I dead?" I asked. "No. Not yet." "Then let me wake up." He tilted his head. "Are you sure?" I blinked. "What?" "You've seen the truth. You've touched every layer. There's nothing waiting for you out there but pain. A broken body. A hard recovery. Loss." I looked down at the hospital bed. The machines. The tubes. "Then what is this?" I asked. "Heaven?" He smiled. "Not quite." I frowned. "So, what are you?" He thought for a moment. "A doorman." He turned away. I looked back at the door I came through. Still open. Sunlight streamed through. And in that moment, I had a choice. Stay in the peace of this delusion. Or return to the world, broken and uncertain. I stepped forward. Reached for the door. And just before I touched it, I woke up. Hospital room. My daughter's face above mine. "Dad?" I tried to speak. My mouth was dry. She gasped, sobbing. "He's awake. He's awake." Doctors rushed in. Lights flashed. Beeping intensified. Pain hit me like a truck. I could barely move. But I was alive. I'd chosen the real world. 2 years later. The town never left me. Sometimes, in dreams, I still see it. The diner. The church. The door in the field. Sometimes, I see the man in the coat watching me from across the street. I'll blink, and he's gone. Maybe he's still waiting. Maybe one day, when I'm old and dying again, I'll find myself on that road once more. And maybe this time, I won't turn left. Maybe I'll go right. And see what's waiting there.